you got a new beer.
Yes, I did.
I'm so excited for you to do the new
excited.
one. But I guess we should welcome everybody. We're doing the thing. Hey, everyone. It's another amazing week of Case Files with Kat.
And Ashley.
So we are officially recording in March. So this is our March 1. Happy Women's History Month. Mardi Gras. Oh, it's Fat Tuesday as well.
Tuesday, yes.
It's Fat Tuesday. What else? What else is happening?
In March in general, St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yeah, St. Patrick's Day. Today's Election Day. So everyone, I hope you voted if you're in the United States.
Employee Appreciation Day is Friday.
Or in Texas. Did not know that. I guess I should appreciate my employees on Friday. Thank you for the heads up.
I'm buying myself a lunch.
There you go. And when you all will be hearing this on Thursday, it will be Sarah's her birthday. So happy birthday. Yes. And I'll be going to Cocoa Crepes. You should join us. 8:30 Thursday morning.
Okay. I'm glad that everyone knows that now.
Yep, we'll see you
have
there.
7 million people for
we'll
her birthday.
See you at Cocoa Crepes. Okay, so which beer did you decide to work on today?
So this is another one of the most fabulous beers Kat got me from Martin House when she went, and it's the Wendy Peppercorn. It's Imperial Stout with peanuts, caramel, and nougat. Nugget? I don't know. Nougat?
I think it's a nougat, but I'm not really sure what nougat is.
I don't know. This can art is so great. I took pictures. I have to remember to post the pictures of the beer art. But anyways, it's a delicious beer. I don't know how to describe it other than it's freaking delicious.
She took a sip and it was like...
It's not too boozy. I actually taste all of the flavors, which is unusual. To taste all of them.
What is nougat?
I don't know, but I taste it.
She doesn't know, but
I don't know, but it's kind of like a sweet taste. I don't know.
Okay.
It's delicious. I highly recommend it if you can find it. Again, it's by Martin House.
You gotta be in Fort Worth, dude.
Peppercorn.
You gotta be in
or know someone there. I don't know what
Fort
to tell
Worth.
you, but it's so good. It's one of the best beers I've had in a while.
Oh, I'm so glad. Well, next time I go up north, I will grab you a thing. Okay, so I do not have a beer tonight, which I didn't remember until too late. And I was like, shit, Ashley's coming over and I don't have beer, but I have like a lot of beer for you. So
this works out great for me.
Works out great. But so I decided to open up a bottle of Malbec. Ooh, the Kirkland brand.
Fancy.
So, super fancy. I'm a fancy lady. And it's 2019 Malbec. There you go.
With your pinky out.
I can do that. Tonight I am covering a murder most foul.
Oh.
Jason wanted me to say it just like that too. And so this might be a perfect time to drink with the pinky out.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes, you do.
Of the week.
You do.
I do. Did you think of an answer?
I did not. If you want to read the question out loud, or you want me to read it.
The question is, and the answer that is there was actually really my answer too. It's like it's proper. Yeah. If you had 6 minutes left to live, what would be the song that you listen to?
This is tough for me because I love music, and so I listen to it all the time. So to like narrow it down to like one song, but if I had to say one song, it's like a really, like most people probably don't even remember it's a thing, but it's "Save Tonight" by Eagle Eye Cherry. Love it. I listen to it all the time. I don't know. I can't let go of like the 90s and
How
stuff.
does it go?
I mean, you want me to play it?
No.
I can play it.
No, just sing it.
I can't sing it. I'm not that drunk. No, I can't sing it. I'm sorry.
So I took Jason out to lunch today. Well, I didn't take him. He paid for it. Well, I guess we both paid for it, joint bank account and all. But I asked him the question. I said, here's my question of the week. What would be your song? And he said, My Way, Frank Sinatra. But I think that was more like because it was so dramatic. And so then I asked the bartender, at Chewy's. We were sitting at the bar, and she said that it would be "Don't Stop Believin'," which I thought was like, very, very good song, very good song. And so I decided, I was like, you know what? Actually, I think mine would be Bohemian Rhapsody. My gut decision was the Hamilton album, just to listen to it on my way out, Yeah. But I was like, no, I think Bohemian Rhapsody. That's a 5-minute, 54-second song. So, give me a head start.
There's so many though that I would listen to. I don't know. It's hard.
It's hard.
You would probably know Save Tonight if you heard it, but anyway.
I probably do. I was at the chamber and I asked the question, and Tina immediately, without even missing a beat, said "Brick House."
Nice. Good choice. Solid
She
choice.
said, "If I gotta go out, I'm gonna get down."
Makes sense.
I was like, fantastic answer. And then Jameson said Meatloaf's "Bad Out of Hell." I was like, because you were going to hell? No, he's like, out of hell, out of hell.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, so, Mr. Loaf died. I was like, oh, yeah, I know. So here's to Mr. Loaf.
Yes.
Which is really weird to say.
Mr. Loaf.
So I can't wait to hear the answers if there are any. But okay, good. But I thought that was like the image that I posted, like that was actually my answer, and I couldn't use that.
See, now I'm thinking about Meatloaf. Now I'm thinking about like Time Warp. Like that would be a good one.
Yeah, there's so many. I
don't know. I would end up dying and never hearing a song because I would just keep shuffling.
Can I just have a medley of all the music that I love? Right. There was it was a play on a question. I was trying to form a question about music as a young person, because this is the story I'm doing tonight is about a young person who is just an awesome kid. But I was thinking about like that time in my life, like, okay, if I was 17 now, what was I listening to then? And I had such a crazy wide range of music. Like my favorite band and the posters that were all over my wall was The Cure. But then like I also listened to The Doors a lot. And then I listened to, I had such a crazy range of music at 17, and then I was like, what did we all listen to? Like, what was if you had an iPhone at 17, like what would be on your playlist? But this one, that question actually made me laugh so hard. I was like, I want to do that one. So, but that was where I was kind of going. Oh. But yeah, The Cure, like that would have been me at 17. Like,
I was a senior in high school when I was 17.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I was listening to in 2005. I don't know. Probably still 80s and 90s.
You're an asshole. Okay. So tonight
I was probably still listening to Backstreet Boys or something. I don't know. Anyways, go on. Enough about me.
That's awesome. Okay, so tonight hold on. Backstreet Boys?
I love Backstreet Boys. I don't care how old I am or what other kind of music I listen to. Backstreet Boys will always be there.
Okay, that's awesome. Love that. Okay, so tonight I am going to do a story by request. It was actually sent in to us by a listener. She, her name is Anna, and she reached out and she said that we were her first and foremost true crime show to listen to, which just was like, we're BFFs now, and be my friend on Facebook.
She's our new host.
She's our new host. But she actually, this story comes, this was a girl that they went to junior high together, and they were both seniors that year that this happened. She lived in another town, but they met in middle school, and she was just an amazing girl, is what she said, and always smiling and always there for you. Anna said she disappeared after a class and was found a few days later in the Columbia River. It was a terrifying event for our small town. I remember having my boyfriend at the time check my car before I got in. I couldn't sleep or even leave my bedroom window open because I was afraid of what could happen.
Oh, man.
And I was like, that really sticks. That definitely, that I did not have anything like that happen to me as a teenager. And, nothing that drastic. I was hurt, but I didn't not like that.
Yeah.
Not like this. So, so I wanted to do the story. Thanks to Anna for the suggestion. I did find a lot of video. There are a lot of news stories. There's a 48 Hours did a whole episode on this case. The girl that I'm talking about, her name is Mackenzie Cowell. She was 17 and 5'8". She was a tall girl. She had really one of the brightest futures. If you had, as I was watching, I was just amazed by this girl. She was driven. And I mean, she was always up early, got out of the house early. So she was a really good student. But then she also did dance. She was a model. She was really into fashion and makeup and hair. And so she got into cosmetology school. So she was also taking classes at the cosmetology school in downtown. So she lived in Wenatchee, Washington. And so she went to Wenatchee High School. And then so she studied cosmetology at the Wenatchee Academy of Hair Design. And that was in downtown. She was on the dance team called the Applettes, I believe. Wenatchee was, they consider themselves the apple capital. They just have a lot of orchards and things like that. So it's just it's very beautiful looking small town. So after school, she would head to the cosmetology school. And on this particular day, it was February 9th, 2010. And she went to school. When she left in the morning, she and her dad had agreed to meet up later and kind of have a father-daughter dinner and all that kind of stuff. So they planned she would be home probably around 5:45 that night after class. And so while she was at school, she told everyone she'd be back in about 15 minutes. And there's some CCTV tape of her walking through the parking lot to her car and then driving the car out. And that is the last time she was seen alive that anybody knows. Yeah. So I'll kind of get into a little bit of that. I do have some of the footage from that 48 hours. You can only see it on their YouTube 48 hours tape. There's some of the stuff later on. So I know this is an audio version, but there is some good footage that we'll post in our reference notes about, it's definitely worth watching because it really kind of goes all over the place, the story. So shortly after 3 p.m. on February 9th, 2010, you see her leave, and it's cold. So she's got her coat on, and she doesn't seem to be in a hurry. She's walking to her car, and she gets in her car and leaves. I watched the video. There's nothing suspicious. There's nobody walking behind her, at least in those immediate few seconds. It's a 15-second video. You just see her crossing the parking lot, and she leaves. And so that wasn't of much help really at the time. She told classmates that she would be right back. And so not too far away was a little convenience store. She might have gone there for snacks. She might have gone there for drinks. There's no mention whatsoever of any video, which in 2010, I kind of would have thought there would be, but there's no video of that convenience store or where was she going if she was going to be back in 15 minutes? Yeah, that's weird. Maybe to get a soda. That's kind of what I was thinking, maybe she's hungry. She's going to go grab a bite real quick or whatever. She's a teenager, So at this point, on her way out, she sent a text message to her boyfriend and she said, "Hey, what's up?" This was the last time she used her phone.
Oh my goodness.
Right. And so like, what do we know?
Nothing.
No, but like, what
crazy.
do we know about like a girl dying? I mean, who would you immediately pinpoint to?
Oh, the boyfriend.
Right. I mean, someone she knew.
Yeah.
Right. So you're immediately like, that's where I was going. Oh, he did it. Like, that's just my thing.
Yeah.
So at about 5:40, her dad, Reed. So Reed starts to kind of go like, hey, what's your ETA? No message, no response. So he calls her, goes straight to voicemail, which he thought was incredibly strange.
Especially for a teenager.
Right. And so then calls back, goes to voicemail again. So in his interview on this 48-hour episode, he said, your first message is like, hey, what's up? Give me a call. Trying to see when you're going to be home. And then it was like, where are you? And, he's like a little bit pissed off because he's like, you were supposed to be home. Like, where are you? You're a teenager. You're probably off fucking around. Yeah. Right. But then he's getting increasingly more worried. And he was like, I'm sorry, I was mad. I'm concerned now. Where are you? Please call me. Because now I feel like something's going on. Right. And so the calls just kind of kept coming because he was just like, oh my gosh, where are you? Where are you? But it's always going to voicemail just immediately. So as the curfew of 8 p.m. comes and goes, he's just at this point just really, really worried. Yeah. And I think that she was a good enough girl. I don't know how to, not good enough, but like she didn't really get in trouble.
She wasn't a troublemaker. It wasn't like her. It was out of character.
It was very out of character. So I don't want to say like she was a good girl, but she was a responsible teen, and she had a date with her dad. They were gonna go do stuff. Later that night, though, there was a call from a homeowner in this little remote county. I think it's Chelan County. He was out for a walk on his property and he saw this abandoned car. And so he called the police and reported it. And they traced the registration to Reed Cowell, her Mackenzie's dad. And so they called him and they said, hey, we found your car. And he was like, great. Now where's the girl that was driving it? And that was immediately like, oh shit. There was this abandoned car. It had her wallet. It had everything in it. There was nothing taken away.
Say how far away this was from her school or wherever she was supposed to be?
Yes. So the car itself was located near Mission Ridge, and this is about 40 miles from her house in Orondo. So wow. Very far. So her purse, some clothes were found in the car. So like not somebody who like in your disappearance cases, like it wasn't an empty car. Like all of her stuff was in there. Yeah. Her debit card and her cell phone were gone though. Yeah. So that would be, I guess, like if someone were just going to disappear. But I mean, she's 17. She wasn't going to do that.
If she had gone into a store, maybe she had it like in her pocket. And it wasn't like in her purse, Like if someone took her from wherever she was making a purchase, maybe she just had her debit card. Because I do that sometimes. I just take my debit card.
That's true. Yeah. I take my purse. I take the wallet. I take my whole wallet.
Yeah.
Anyway, so only, according to the police, only one pair of footprints was there. And it seemed to be walking away from the scene.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I don't know how they know that. It's like, yes, Kevin. It's like in The Princess Bride when he's like, this was a mighty duel, right? It's like, how do you know that just from the scuff marks, right? Anyway, so the Chelan County Sheriff's Office started an investigation actually right away because they're like, whoa, a girl's car really far away from where she was last seen, because at this point people are, have you talked to her? Have you heard from her? Like what's going on? So it kind of started to, people were asking. And so they immediately started looking. They did a search warrant to get phone records, because I guess you still have to do that. and to look at her social media activity. So they wanted to do some searches into that because, I mean, she's a teenager. Maybe she's posting something. And so at the request of the sheriff, the FBI was also called in to investigate.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't think that if it's not crossing state lines that they would get involved. And so I don't know if it's because she was a minor.
I would say probably because she's a minor.
Yeah, they didn't really explain that. So that's, to me, that's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
So at this point, Reed has a car with nobody in it. They don't know why it's in this, abandoned in this man's yard, basically. I mean, on his property. They have a set of footprints and no daughter. And I can just imagine like the just panic.
Yeah.
Like what are that just... I know he just wants her home now. And I'm sure he's thinking about like, I was yelling at her on my messages, like angry. And then like, okay, where are you? I'm really worried about you now. So 3 days later, on February 13th, her body was discovered on the banks of the Columbia River near Quincy, Washington, in this little, it says a resort community about 20 miles from Wenatchee. So the car is one way, Wenatchee's in the middle, and then her body is found somewhere else. Gosh. So this seems really, there's a weird triangle of locations.
You may talk about it. Did they determine if the footprints from the car were hers or was it someone else's? They don't say. They didn't say.
So okay.
Weird.
I know. Okay.
The story stressed me out.
I know. So she was found fully clothed. Her feet were in the water. She's fully clothed. There was a vacant house about 50 yards from where her body was found. Okay. An autopsy. So this was actually one of the stranger things I think that I have. To me, I was like, wow, like she's this beautiful girl. She's completely clothed. They did the autopsy. They found no evidence of being sexually assaulted. So like, why the fuck? Not that like, I don't know. Maybe the power was the sexual drive. I feel like there's probably more to this, she wasn't sexually assaulted, but she was brutally murdered.
That makes it almost seem like it was very personal, like to not that every pretty person gets raped when they let's not say that, but the fact that she was just beaten and then left, like that seems very personal. Like why would you just randomly beat someone to death and then I don't know.
But she was horribly, horribly, horribly murdered in a scary way. Oh, wow. She was strangled. She was stabbed in the neck. Oh, like her jugular was cut.
Jesus.
Yeah. She suffered blunt force trauma to the head. When her body was found, the killer had tried to cut her arm off.
Oh my God.
The knife got stuck. So it was still in her arm when they found her. And they have pictures of it. And there's all this tissue. It's white and pink. I mean, it's just, you can see the tissue. And I always make a joke. I stigmatized myself, in not 2010. It was like 2007, maybe early 2007, maybe late 2006. I was cutting an avocado with a serrated knife. Don't ever do that. And it just slipped through and went right through my hand in between my ring finger and my middle finger. And when I pulled out the knife, it was serrated just like this knife was, and it was covered in like this white, I guess it was tissue. I don't know. It was just this gross stuff. And I just looked at it and was like, it's not even bloody. It's just white and pink, right? I was like,
nice visual for everyone.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was hoping for. Great scar. But I lost all my feeling in those fingers for like a year. I had to work on that. Anyway, so when I see the pictures of it, I'm like, whoa, like that was a very big knife cutting through, like that they really wanted to hurt her.
Yeah.
And you're probably right. It seemed very
it just
personal.
Seems like when it's that brutal and there's nothing else done to her,
that's terrifying.
That it was someone who knew her personally and just wanted her to like pay for something. I don't know.
It's really scary.
Especially if there was like no struggle at the car itself. And I would think it'd have to be someone she knew.
And no sexual assault, no evidence of that, but it's still, I don't know, maybe it was sexual. I don't know. On the 25th of February of that year, about 1,800 people attended the service for her. And that was the Applettes that her dance troupe performed there, and they all had their little shirts on with her face on it. And very, very sad. I could imagine living in a small town like that. And wow, just it's very sad, and it's very scary. So, obviously they wanted to know what happened to her. So they created what they called the Mackenzie Cowell Task Force. So it was multi-agency. They had the police and they had the FBI. It was just all these organizations that they came together after they found her body. And so, it included the law enforcement agents from Wenatchee and East Wenatchee, and from the counties of Chelan and Douglas, an FBI agent and 2 officials from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement also assisted the task force. Like, this was a big task force.
Yeah.
The case was the largest multi-agency investigation in the Wenatchee area since a bombing attempt in 1997.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. They interviewed over 800 potential suspects.
Oh,
they interviewed a lot of people.
To have that many suspects.
Yes. I mean, it's a teenager, right? So of course, we both said they're going to talk to the boyfriend. Let's talk to the boyfriend. His name was Joaquin Villasano, and, he was probably suspect number 1 for a while. He loved her. He really did. And I'm not going to play you the clip of him, but it was so heart-wrenching because you could just see, like, he's like, I really loved her a lot. Yeah. Like, that was, like, they thought he was a gangster because he's Mexican. And, like, he was like, I'm not a gangster. But they also questioned, and he had an airtight alibi. So he was very, like, he was cleared.
Yeah.
They did all of their due diligence when it came to him, because everybody, and the police even said mom and dad were potential suspects because it's almost always someone Yeah. So they were never persons of interest because they like right away alibis were made or whatever, but they were certainly on that list at one point because everybody has to be. Another person though, that was on that list was her mom's boyfriend, Mr. Joey Fisher. So these two, Joey Fisher and Joaquin, so Joaquin actually had a question posed to him, and everybody was given a lie detector test. And his question was, do you know what happened to Mackenzie? And that was the question he failed.
The boyfriend.
But he had airtight alibi. Like her parents, it was obvious to the police that he actually really did love her. Yeah. And that
but I mean, you can love someone and still murder them.
But there just there weren't any other red flags other than that one question. Fisher had, the day before, Joey Fisher, her mom's boyfriend, they had gotten in this really big fight.
Him and the mom? Or
him and Mackenzie.
Okay.
And there in an interview on that 48 hours thing, the stepmom says, and it was the day before she went missing that she told her mom, it's him or me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
that must have been a giant fight, though. Like,
that must have been. But that was also, so the stepmom says this in front of her dad. And her dad looks at her and goes, that was the day before. Like, and you could see it in his face. Like, this is, like, what? Oh, God. They questioned it too. You could tell, like, that was a question in their mind. Is that the man? Did he do this to my daughter?
Yeah.
And so they nixed that. They said there's just no evidence, no body, no crime kind of a thing. There's nothing putting either one of these two men at the scene with her. Nothing. There's just nothing. They didn't have anything. They had a fight the day before and a text message. Hey, what's up? That's it.
Yeah.
So his cell phone records also, the boyfriend's, also put him somewhere else. So,
but what about the mom's boyfriend?
The mom was with him. Like, they were cleared. They had alibis that cleared. They had all.
I really wanted it to be the boyfriend,
right?
Like the mom's
the disappointing. Okay, don't worry. So the next lead in the case came from Liz Reed, who was a college student, and she had the last name that her last name was Reed, and the dad's name was Reed, right? The dad's first name was Reed. So this is Liz Reed, and I am going to get her right.
Expected witness emerged. A walking contradiction named Liz Reed.
I am in college full-time. I have a straight A GPA.
If the cops were here, they'd say, not bad for a drug-dealing liar.
I'm sure they would say that.
When Mackenzie Cowell was doing everything to build an honest life, Liz Reed was doing anything to stay high on OxyContin.
I was selling drugs. I was writing bad prescriptions, doctor shopping.
To get access to OxyContin?
Correct.
Liz was also working with the police.
You were an informant.
Correct.
The information Liz Reed gave police sent the investigation of Mackenzie Cowell's murder into overdrive.
She began providing us information about two individuals in this area.
She named names, Sam Cuevas and Emmanuel Cerros, nicknamed Buddha, streetwise, convicted criminals, drug dealers, people Liz Reed hung out with.
And she tells a very compelling story that Sam Cuevas and Emmanuel Cerros abduct and kill Mackenzie Cowell on a bluff near Crescent Bar.
So at this point, they're like, okay, we're going to go check these guys out. And she's already an informant for the police. So they kind of were like, okay,
why would these two guys randomly pick Mackenzie and then brutally murder her?
That's what was so crazy. There was no connection to the drug world or anything like that. And so, like, her friends are watching this going like, what? That's crazy. Yeah. What? This person's talking nonsense. Total nonsense. So the two guys they run up and down trying to figure out like what is happening with them. So
that bitch to shut her up. And that's what he said.
At that moment, Sam Cuevas had basically told you he had murdered Mackenzie Cowell.
Yes.
To shut her up?
He said they had to choke her 2 times because they choked her once. They thought she was dead.
It was compelling, and that's why we invested so much time and so much resources, because we were excited.
Liz Reed claims she provided more details to the cops, including a description of the knife allegedly used during the attack.
So essentially, you had described the murder weapon
Exactly.
prior to it being made public
Yes.
by anyone.
Yes.
And come spring, as the orchards came to life again, the task force thought they'd found the killers.
And that was the belief of a number of task force members at the time, based on what Miss Reed was telling us.
Liz Reed swears she was actually shown a snuff film of Mackenzie Cowell's death.
So she swears up and down. She saw a video. She saw a video. So the police are doing everything they
so
can.
confused. She said these two men
Yes.
randomly
Yes.
wanted to shut Mackenzie up
Yes.
about something that they don't know,
Right.
and so they killed her.
Yes.
That doesn't even make any sense.
It don't. So Liz Reed has claimed that Sam Cuevas and Buddha are to blame, right? And so the police are doing everything that they can at this point.
It makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
all.
No. And that's why everybody else was really, really questioning, like, what the hell? So they did search warrants for their phones, to do social media, to look at their computers, because if Liz saw that snuff film, it's going to be somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? So it's going to be somewhere. And like, they didn't seem to be that, I don't know, convicted criminals. I don't know how savvy they are about
like. Film doesn't usually involve like murdering someone in a river. I'm just saying.
Well,
Or are you saying like
he
maybe
may not
in the
have been
vacant
there,
house?
like they may not have been killing her there. Anyway, so
I don't know, this is all
at
just very
this
strange
point-
to me. I'm
It is.
sorry.
It's very strange. So at this point, the police find nothing. They have alibis. They've got nothing. And so they completely discredit Liz. And so at this point, she's, okay, I lied about the snuff film because I thought I was going to get charged with the murder of Mackenzie. But everything else is true. They said they killed her.
Why would she be charged with the murder unless she
I
did
don't
it?
know. They don't know. It just, none of it makes sense. So she recanted, but then unrecanted. And she said, it's all true, not the snuff film, but the rest of it is true. I can prove it to you. So she even tries to show the guys a 48, like, this is where she was really killed. And, the police will say she is not to be trusted. And that's that. So this is where we are. We're left with that. But what was happening at this point was that we're months and months and months after the murder. She did describe the murder weapon very clearly. She described it, but it wasn't. She maybe just had a really good guess. It was a serrated knife. I don't know that you could cut somebody up without a serrated knife. I don't know that much about knives or about cutting up bodies, but there you are. The police totally discredit Cuevas and Buddha. Were interviewed by police. They produced alibis. Everything checked out. Phone records, placed them somewhere else. There's nothing. Their computers were clean. Nothing else. Yes, they may be convicts and deal drugs, but they certainly did not kill Mackenzie. But as the months go on, there is a few tips that go into the police. One of them came from somebody in jail. So what they will say is, this is, we didn't ask him for anything, but he gave it to us. And so they treated it just like they treated Liz's information. So there's an inside jailhouse informant. We're going to treat it the same way. We're going to go investigate the lead. So this was actually about a classmate at the cosmetology school.
It was the cosmetology school where she left originally, right? Not like her actual.
Correct.
Okay.
So after receiving several tips, they began to focus their investigation on a young man named Christopher Scott Wilson. And he was 29 at the time. And he was also he'd been at the cosmetology school a little bit longer. So Mackenzie had just kind of started, and he had already been there they start a new class every quarter. So he was on his second quarter. So he was like a sophomore of the, so she would be the freshman class. But they started a new class 4 times a year. And so he had started that quarter he was different for a small town. He, had the dark black hair. He had a Hannibal Lecter tattoo. He worked at a funeral home.
Seems like he should be on the show.
He was really into serial killers. Yep. So other than the working at a funeral home, I think he probably would hang out with us,
technically our friend Twyla lived above a funeral home. And we're friends with her. So I'm just saying.
So one of the letters that went into the police stated that, so this was in August. She had been killed in February. So in August, the letter said that Chris had an obsession with death, dead bodies, and serial killers. But I mean, if you looked at my search history.
No, I was just about to say.
Y'all, I don't kill people. It's just this is what I do. I just look up.
If we were ever investigated as a potential suspect in someone's murder around here, we would have no way. Nothing. We would be done. We'd be in jail even if we didn't do it.
I would be like, why? They would ask, why did you look up what happens to a body after it dies? What? Because
how to properly dispose of a body.
That's what I'm saying. So he also, because he worked in the funeral home, someone said that he quote liked to cut people up. And there was an interview on another podcast called First Degree where they interviewed somebody who knew Mackenzie through the cosmetology school, who was in that same freshman class as her. And she really was uncomfortable around Chris. There was one point where they had to dress up their mannequin and do the makeup, do the hair, do the fashion or whatever. And he took a razor blade and cut the face off of the mannequin.
So why was he a cosmetologist? Was it to do makeup on the bodies? After, you know what I mean? Some families want you to...
He was really cool. I mean, he looked really cool, right? He had the hair that was cool. He's got all the...
Yeah.
If he was in a big city...
if that was a legitimate question. I'm not making fun of him. I was just asking, was he a cosmetologist or was that something he really wanted to do? Or was
they didn't really get into that.
I don't know. I'm just saying, because it seems weird, you're going to cut the skin off your mannequin.
I know.
And you're in your cosmetology school. I don't know. It just seems a little strange.
He didn't, to me, as they were describing him, I was like, he doesn't seem like the kind of guy. But, I dated a rock star who went to cosmetology school and cut hair in Boston. He's got great hairstyle. Kind of, he's punk rock, right? Anyway, but... So I can see it. I can see somebody like him going and doing that. But if you're going to cut the face off your mannequin, I think that's a little bit weird. Anyway, so in October, he was arrested eventually because what they were able to find, they went to after the suggestion that they investigate him, they went and they got his DNA and they tested it, and sure fucking shooting, they found the DNA, same DNA.
I'm sorry, sure fucking shooting.
Yep, that's it. Say that? I did it.
It's my new favorite phrase. I'm gonna start saying that all the time now.
Sure shooting, sure fucking shooting. So there was some duct tape that was found where Mackenzie was left, and they found his DNA on the duct tape. And so when they asked him, have you ever been to this place, by the Columbia River? He said no. And they're like, well, your DNA is there and you're arrested, buddy. Right. So they did arrest him on October 6th on suspicion of second degree murder, and was held on a $1 million bond. So it would be equivalent to a $1.3 million bond now. DNA found on the duct tape where her body was discovered linked him to the crime. So they have to sort of go and reverse on this shit, right? Because now they're like, wait a minute, he was in beauty school with her? Well, guess what? 70 seconds after she left, 70 seconds after that CCTV tape, it ends. But if it kept going, later on, they found out they see him leaving 72 seconds after she left.
Oh my gosh.
So he walks out the same door. And he lived 3 blocks away, right by the convenience store. Bum, bum, bum. Anyway, so according to the investigators, he left right after them. There's video of that as well. And there was a description of a man on the property where the car was abandoned who matched the description of Chris. He's a very tall, very lanky young man. Well, he's 29, so I guess he was like almost 30 at the time. He was very tall, very lanky, had long black hair.
Wait, I'm sorry. He was 30 at the time?
He was 29.
And she was 17.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So they got a warrant to look at his apartment. He was just moving out of that apartment, and they were able to get in there around that time. And they did the luminol, that spray. Yeah. And there was a spot on the carpet that they found had blood. It had been cleaned, and the naked eye couldn't see it. Yeah. But they cut out a piece of that carpet, and they did a test on it. And sure fucking shooting, Mackenzie's blood was there. And it was a pretty sizable chunk of carpet. It was only in that one spot. It wasn't everywhere. Yeah. And so he was a big fan of Dexter. And maybe he kind of covered his tracks.
Oh, yeah, with the plastic and stuff.
With the plastic and stuff. And maybe this is where it kind of seeped through and they cleaned it. Now, the DNA was undeniably Mackenzie's on that carpet. Undeniably Mackenzie's on that carpet. I'll say it again. It was undeniable. The task force made the arrest. They found video of, and I'm going to play it here. They found video that was on his computer. And now he says, Chris Wilson says, because they were moving out of the apartment, that he wanted to show that the apartment was clean. He was leaving the apartment clean, wanted to show proof so that he would get his deposit back. Okay. And so this is, again, on that 48 on YouTube, there's the post. So you can't, the reason I'm telling you to go watch it, because you can hear it, but to see his face, there's kind of a snicker.
Then there was this.
Pretty clean?
Pretty clean.
A controversial video of Chris Wilson.
Video of me, just get away. Is it clean?
Taken by his friend, Tessa Skyleman. In the video, shot as Chris moved out of apartment 28, the two friends seemed concerned that it's neat and clean, so Chris could get his security deposit back. Chris would later explain the carpet was damaged during a party.
Does it look clean?
Clean for what happening? Clean considering? Yeah, it's clean considering.
But police allege Wilson was checking for blood.
She zooms right on the carpet where that blood is.
The police task force is now certain that Mackenzie Cowell's blood was here, so deep into the carpet in apartment 28 where Chris Wilson lived at the time of the murder.
So, when I say she zoomed in, when they say she zoomed in and then stayed there.
So you're saying not only did he do this, but there may have been other people involved, or at least they knew about it?
Right. So
and they're joking about it?
Yeah. So Tessa Skyleman was also arrested, but that's it. She gets out. There's nothing else that ever happens with her. But
I hate the justice system.
Because what she's saying is there was a party. The story doesn't change. There was a party and we were taking that. But why are you zooming in on that one spot?
Well, if there was a party, how did Mackenzie end up there, and how did her blood end up on the carpet just because there was a party?
So, funny you should say that. So the trial ends up happening. The prosecutors are like, look, we will give you manslaughter if you admit to it, and you get 7 years. And he said, no way, I'm not admitting to it. His lawyer happened to represent some pretty horrific people. I think he was Ted Bundy's lawyer. Like he helped some really awful people. So he was like, the Wenatchee police planted that blood. It wasn't there before. It's Wenatchee. Of course they would do that. That's like how that was his behavior. And how do we know the dad didn't do it? That was actually brought up in court during the trial. How do we know? Like, let's look at her dad. Could you imagine being in the trial and listening to somebody point at you? Oh my gosh. What about this person? What about that person? What about Cuevas and Buddha? And what about? They all
had alibis.
Right. So,
and her blood wasn't on any of their carpets.
Eventually, he decided, like, if he goes to trial, he will not be treated fairly, because it was really hard for the jury to not know about the case, to not already have a predetermined view about him in the case. He looked different. He did not look like the small town, blonde haired, bushy eyed, whatever, like just he looked different. If he was in a bigger town, as his mom would say, he would be a non-event. But in this small town, he stood out. But if he lived in like Seattle, Washington, he wouldn't be normal, right? Like normal. But he just stood out. And so he felt like he would be not given a fair trial based on how he looked, and he would face 20 to 26 years in prison. So he rejected the deal of a plea bargain when he would only get 6.5 years. He said, no way. But then he said, so John Henry Brown was his attorney, very prominent. He did represent Ted Bundy. I was right. The name sounds familiar. And Colton Harris Moore, which I will do a story on another time. But Brown had said, like, I told him to take that plea because even if you're innocent, you take that plea. 6.5 years, you wouldn't even have to serve all of that, right? He argued that blood was planted. The judge that was over the case said that he could bring up Cuevas and Ceros and Buddha as the killers, that he could be pointing the fingers all the time. He also ruled that the prosecution would not be allowed to bring up Chris Wilson's work history at the funeral homes, or his tattoo.
Why not?
I don't know. Or his tattoo of Hannibal Lecter, or his online activity on DeviantArt and on serial killer forums.
I mean, I get that, but I don't understand why his job couldn't be brought up. Like, that's what he actually does for a living. Why is that not like public? If you tell me at the end of this that he didn't go to jail or get charged for this, I'm going to be really upset.
She's going to throw things at me. So anyway.
I feel like that's the direction this is going, and I'm just already pre-upset about it.
Really? So after the trial began, he accepted another plea deal, and he pleaded guilty to first-degree manslaughter of Mackenzie, as well as first-degree robbery for taking her cell phone, and second-degree assault for an unrelated case. He was sentenced to 14 years in prison. He is due to get out next year. He's still in prison and he's still alive. So there's that. But 14 years.
For taking a 17-year-old life in such a violent way.
He has maintained his innocence. His mom and his best friend maintain his innocence. They're like, yeah, he was into weird things, but if he lived anywhere else, if he lived in any big city, it would not be weird.
Why was
everyone listening to this.
Duct tape?
I know. They said they planted it. He said they
took his DNA and planted it on a piece of duct tape before they even went into his apartment and found blood. Okay. I'm sorry.
So police do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, so they arrested him anyway. So he continually, even though he agreed to do the plea deal, he still maintains his innocence. He said he never even had a conversation with Mackenzie. And in the 48 Hours episode, they're like, I never talked to her. I don't know anything about her.
But she was uncomfortable by him.
No, her friend, the friend.
Yeah, but didn't the friend say that Mackenzie said she was uncomfortable?
No, the friend said that she was uncomfortable.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like, dude, you just razor bladed a face off of a mannequin.
During cosmetology class.
God damn, like, that's weird, dude.
To each your own, but to do it during a cosmetology class.
Know your audience. Yeah. You're supposed to be doing makeup, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Anyway.
Read the room.
So he stated that he only pleaded guilty because he did not believe he would receive the fair trial. He said 80% of jury candidates answered questionnaires stating either that they believed he was guilty or that they had knowledge of evidence which was ordered to be suppressed at trial. So they were very well aware of the case. It's a small town. That it would have been really hard. He did look different, and he did.
I don't think it matters that you look different if
for
your
sure.
DNA is all over the place.
Yeah, I know.
And your friend zooms into the spot where you murdered somebody.
Anyway, so he was found guilty because of his plea deal. He pled guilty, yes. and the judge said, "This is your statement," and he said yes. So he was sentenced to 14 years, 3 months, with eligible for parole in 2023, which is next year. And he's going to be 42. 42. So he's still like young, I'm saying that as an old person. He's still got enough life ahead of him, which is really unfair because Mackenzie doesn't. Mackenzie's parents don't get her. He gets to.
What I hate about all of this is because he's remaining like that he's innocent, is that we'll never know why he actually did it. And that's so infuriating for the parents.
It is.
Or for anyone. Like, to claim you're innocent, even though you know you did it and you spent prison time for it, but then to never tell anyone why you did it, like, that is just. I mean, I'm assuming she may have rejected him, or I don't know. It's weird that he would pick her.
She had a boyfriend, my goodness, who she loved. And there's all these love notes. And, Joaquin had these, just like your girlfriend, underlined, I love you. And just such sweet things. And you can see that it chokes him up. And for this small little town, and Anna and her friends, I mean, like that was something that for them they had to deal with. And Anna mentioned that, sorry for the squeaky door, everybody. Anna had mentioned that she was so scared that because they didn't know for the longest time who was it. Who did this? Yeah. And it was so easy. It seemed so easy. And to me, like, she literally walked away to go to the convenience store probably. And then what? Yeah.
It's just crazy to me that, like, he just won't admit it and say why he did it. Like, it's just so, like, how he just picked. It's just.
And there's no double jeopardy. Like, well, they can't try you again. So why not be honest about it?
Yeah.
But, I mean, he has to live an adult life outside of prison next year. And
there's still hope.
But if you ever,
what? Sorry.
There's still hope.
I'm sorry. I'm very upset by this.
He needs to serve more time. But yes, but if he gets out, he still has to, he's never going to admit it, because then everybody's like, that's it.
He can still do it again, which is what just,
yeah, he took that plea deal. He did it. So anyway, that's my story about Mackenzie Cowell. Thank you, Anna, for suggesting it. It's heartbreaking. But I hope for peace for her mom and dad and her step parents. But I hope that, man, I know that his mom really believes him. His best friend really believes him. And there's nothing,
I just hope he lives a very miserable life when he gets out. I don't believe in second chances when it comes to that. Like, that was such a horrible way to murder her and then lie about it. And just
his
make
mom was like,
well,
we delivered cupcakes that night. And it's like, yeah, but you weren't with him every second. So he acted just normal. It's like, oh, God.
So did Ted Bundy. And everyone else his lawyer represented.
Yeah, his lawyer represented the guy who did the soldier who killed all those people in Afghanistan. I don't know. I could never be a lawyer, because I wouldn't, like, I know that's your job, but I wouldn't be able to do it. You want to make sure that someone gets a fair trial, but yeah, not like that. Okay, so you want to read the answers? So that's my story, everybody. Thank you for listening.
It was a really good story. I thought you told it very well. Like, that's, to me, it's a very interesting story, because it's just, it's an important reminder that you just never know what can happen. Like,
and please don't look at my history on my
yes,
internet history.
You're just going to be so aware of like what's happening around you. And if someone makes you uncomfortable, like there's probably a reason your gut is telling you that, you know, you're uncomfortable. But that's really sad.
But she knew him enough to trust him somehow. And, you know, was it like, hey, can you get me a ride to my apartment real quick? I'm going to go grab something. Or,
I'm
you
just
know,
saying, like, in general, you know what I mean? Like, if you have that gut feeling about someone, you should just trust it because your gut hardly ever lies. Okay, so in case you forgot, the question of the week question was, if you had 6 minutes left to live, what's the last song you would listen to? Michael and Shirley say "Wonderful Tonight" by Eric Clapton and "Take Me On" by Aha.
Take on me. Right? Take on me.
Tony says the Macarena.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
What they said.
Tony.
Chuck says my family singing John Prine's "Please Don't Bury Me" 2 times.
Oh my god! Because it's 3 minutes long. Good song.
Sorry, I gotta find our page. Those were your answers on your page.
Oh, okay.
And then on our page, it said RC said, if I pick a 9-minute song, do I get 3 extra minutes?
No.
Angela says I Will Survive. And Kristen says, I think I would want something fun. If death is imminent, I'm not sure I'd want to wallow in my misery. I think I'd pick some 80s pop. Freedom by Wham. That song is only 5 minutes, so maybe I'd roll into Freedom 90 when it was over.
Good song. I like that song. Yeah, yes. That's a good song. Oh man, that's the song that after my dad died, that was my I'm really drunk and I'm going to sing really loudly to that song after my dad died. I don't know why. That was just the song.
If you're unfamiliar with our question of the week, we always post it on our social media, and you can answer it at any time because we always go back and read them, and we love them. And you can send us question of the week ideas because we never have an idea what we want to do.
We love them. I had an idea.
No, you did. You did. Let me rephrase. 99.7% of the time, we have no idea what we're going to ask until like the day of.
It's true.
So please always go back and answer or, send us. Anyways, so those are good answers. I liked it. That was a good question. I actually saw a post on Facebook today that I saved for my question of the week, even though I don't know what I'm doing as a story. But anyways, so I do have a question of the week for next week.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just keep sending us those story ideas. Thank you, Anna, again. We love our listeners so much. And really, it just amazes me every time there's a message like, hi, I'm a listener. just love you guys a lot.
Yes. And don't forget, you can leave us voicemails on our website. We love them. And we didn't have one today, but we do love them. I didn't check, so
she didn't check, y'all.
If you left me one and I just said you didn't, just know that I'm sorry. I failed. I did not.
All right, everybody. Until next week, we love you. Please be safe and kind, and happy birthday again, Sarah.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.